What is going on, guys? So, seems the last video was one of my more popular ones. I haven't quite figured out the YouTube algorithm, whether it's what's in the title, hashtags, who knows, either way. That video seems to be doing really well. That is going to lead me into this video. So we are looking at, as far as a recap goes, last video I brought the body in. It's been sitting outside for, unfortunately, like a year, which is terrible, but fortunately it's still in really good shape. We blew it all apart, took all the panels off of it, able to assess the subframe. It's actually really solid. There's some rust on it, but that's expected. It's almost 100 years old, so no worries. Shortened up the left rear lower quarter panel, the 3 inches, so that I can shorten this whole car. And basically that's where we're at to this point. So today what I hope to get accomplished is shorten the other lower quarter. I have that sitting over here, and that's going to follow the same process as this did. Fortunately, I think I can probably now pull that off in about a half an hour. No big deal. I'm going to clean and mark the subframe for the cut line. So I've established, after I've given great thought to this, I definitely want to cut right behind the B pillar and shorten everything up, pull the whole rear section towards the front. That will keep all of the body features that are in these quarter panels. It will keep all of those features in the subframe in the normal spot. So I won't have to rework anything on the bottom of the quarters for all the contours. So after that, if I get all that accomplished today in this video, I will probably move on to the upper quarters. That's going to be a little bit more lengthy just because all of the details that are there, and I actually have to weld it all back together. So I'll probably fire up the TIG welder and hammer weld all that stuff so that it comes out as clean as I can possibly get it, and really take my time on it, work hard at getting it right. So anyway, that's where we're at, and I think to get into this right out of the gate, I'm going to go ahead and start on the other quarter panel, the other lower quarter panel, and shorten it up like we did this one. Thanks, guys. Let's get into this. So I think that I probably need to restate the name of this press brake. So this is actually a box and pan brake. I continue to call it a finger brake last video just because, I don't know, it got stuck in my head. Anyway, it's a box and pan brake. Some people may not be familiar with it. A good buddy of mine was like, hey, I've never seen one of those before. He used plenty of them, but not any like this. So just to expand on this a little bit, each one of these has a plate behind it that's pinching this portion, you know, a piece of flat bar basically, that's pinching and holding these fingers where they're at currently. So you can loosen each of these and slide them around based on the width of your panel. So in this case, I'm actually going to need to loosen one or two of these, unless, yeah, I might. Anyway, you see, that flange runs into one of these. I want to open a gap that's the right width for all of this that allows this to slide inside of it. Now I may be able to, in this case, because I don't have a return flange on the other side over here, I can just slide it underneath the press brake. Now, underneath the dies. I do have a little bit of a lip right here where I didn't grind it completely flat. I left like a little tiny roll when I cut this chunk out. Honestly, it probably won't hurt anything, so I'm probably not going to worry about it. But I may readjust the camera to make sure we've got this. So, but anyway, that's how this works. So you can slide these around and make sure that there's a gap. There's different width pieces, fingers. So if this, in this case, if this were too wide and I needed this flange to come up, I can just slide this over and take one of these other fingers, put it right here, and get the width as close as possible to the same width as my panel. That way I have a good surface edge all the way along the entire bend line, and it'll come up with a nice clean bend. I'm sure some of this is rudimentary to some people. Some people have never seen this stuff, so yeah, that's how it works. Let me reposition the camera, possibly, and bend up this panel. All right, so let's slap this in here. Again, there's so much curvature to this, and when I bend it, it's going to make it straight, but it doesn't so much matter. Let me lower this a little bit. I'll come back over this side. See if I can't get my bends correct. It's a little hard to maneuver this. There we go. I think I got it right there. Yep, that's good. All right, let's pull this down tight. You got to support the panel, because of course it'll just bend if you let it hang. This is a little tighter on this one. It's because of all that curvature in it. Got to go a little over 90. Can always take it back out. There we go. All right, and now you can see it. Oh, you see part of the reason had a problem. Interesting. I'm not sure why I didn't realize that was going to be a problem. Either way, it's fine. I'll show you what I did. That's actually the reason it was so damn tight. Okay, so you can see here that didn't go as planned, but that's just because I wasn't thinking ahead. I know my flange is in the correct spot, so I'm not worried about it. Really, all I'm going to do is trim this up and possibly even weld up that corner. You can see there's a lot of curvature in this. There's a couple things going on here, and I figured before I put anything more in there, I do know that right down here I'm going to need a little more. But I wanted to stop and show what's going on because it's important. So this is my contour gauge. You see from here to here, it's looking pretty damn good. I could do just a little bit of pressing on this. You see, I got even more of it. We could do that a little bit more. But what the important part here is, let's set again. There we go. We're super close. Super close. But there's a flat spot right here. But more importantly than any of that, you can kind of see, this is sitting on a block of wood, of course, but I'm not sure if you can tell from that view or not, but this is really arced up. It's bubbled up here in the middle. Again, that's just like the other side was. It was from being crushed downward when it was pinned to the trailer with a strap. And so there was no doors in it while it was being transported. So it was able to crush the window opening that's up here normally. It was able to just crush this whole thing. And of course, this is what gave in. So what I need to do, just the same as I did to the other side, I need to hammer and dolly this area down to get this to pop back up. And all of that matters because it's all affecting this flange. If nothing else, all of this shape that's going like this is putting tension on this flange that's trying to pull down like this as well. So I have too many things going on. So I want to stop, get this straightened out, what's going on with this panel, and then it will help me more truly get this flange correct. So that's where we're at right now. We'll go to a time lapse as I hammer and dolly all this. All right, guys, I wanted to stop because as I'm panel beating this thing, I realized there's something very, very telling as to where all of my stress is coming from. And I am by no means a pro at this, but I do have a general understanding of what's going on with how to move the sheet metal and reorganize it in the way you want to. And I know that that sounds kind of silly, but I will say you need to learn how to read what's going on. So as I was working this area, hammer and dollying this down because there was a big bubble in it from being crushed, I started working down this way and I seen there was a high spot here. Now you can see a bunch of hammer marks, but there are some scratch marks there, which showed me that when I moved it around on my bench here, it showed it as a high spot actually. So I started feeling it. It was really bubbled up right in this area, which basically was started to crease this way. Started to crease up through the panel this way. I can feel every bit of that. There's a high spot right going right down through like this. More telling is this right here. So I'm not sure you can see this, but the body line that comes around here fades out heavily right here. You see how it's rounded and it's not nearly as sharp as it was. That means this has been crushed again this way. Sorry, this panel is squished this way, but this has been crushed in this way. So you can see, even just sitting here on the bench, that this top quarter right here is bent down and under like this. If I bring this seam back out, it's going to relieve stress in that top corner. Because it's all right here, actually, this lump. So when I pull this way, it brings this lump down, which then lets that corner pop up a little bit. So point behind anything right now that I'm telling is you need to learn how to read the sheet metal and understand that it's really just a matter of stretching and shrinking to get it back to where it needs to be. So hopefully that explains that well. We'll see what happens. I don't know, maybe it'll do somebody some good. But anyway, we'll get back after this and you'll see me start working all this area down here and you'll probably see that corner come back up a lot easier. Okay, so I think you can probably see that this panel is a lot more relaxed than it was. And you can see the sheen. All of that is hammer and dollying down to get, you can see I've done a lot of work. You can actually see where it's all at. That was all raised up, bubbled up. You can kind of see, and you can see the pattern that it's followed with the sheen. This whole panel's been worked. You can see there's a dead spot right in there. It's not shiny. And then there's all of this that's been shiny. That's shiny and that has been worked. So I do need to show you what it has caused, and then how to fix it. So I've got oil can right here now. So some people get scared by that. I know when I first started doing this type of stuff, it concerned me. I'm like, great, now how do I get that out of there? There's a couple ways you can do it. There's a quick and cheap and easy way to do it, and I'm not really a big fan of it anymore. I was when I first learned it, and it has its appropriate uses. But you could superheat this till it was orange real quick and then quench it with a rag, and it will tighten all of that up to that one spot, and it will take the oil can out like super quick. You do risk warping the panel, and then you have to hammer and dolly stuff, and then it gets work hardened, and there's just a whole bunch of things that come with it. The other way to do it is move it. So the reason this is doing this is because there's not a lot of tension right here. It's basically, there's nothing pulling this panel or pushing this panel so that it has tension to hold its shape. So what you can do is, if in this case, what I've got going on is there's too much material bulged up. And so it's really close to being stretched elsewhere, will drag some of that tension from this area. And so what I'm going to do is start working a little bit over here and it'll drag some of the tension from this that needs to be there rather. It'll pull some tension into this and help fix this. The other way I can do that is work some of this area right here and pull this metal up just a little ways there. So I really just want to get some tension into this one way or the other. In this case, what feels good is actually where it's at right now. So I don't want to pull so much tension that it pops down. I want to keep the tension that's in it, or I want to keep the surface area where it's at right now as far as how it's raised. I want to keep that intact. So I'm probably just going to work around this and try to stretch the material in different ways. So I'll see if I can show you that. We'll see how well it comes across on camera. All right, so what I'm going to do to get this, I've actually done just a tiny bit and it has already worked. This has got more tension on it now. What I'm doing is just slightly working around the edge of this thing. And what it will do is, as I'm hammering up, this is slightly convex, this dolly, on both this surface and this surface, probably just from beating on it. But when I hit from the bottom, this shape into this shape, they're both rounded, it's spreading material. So you gotta be careful because it'll also spread it into the oil can. But depending on how far you go out around it, it'll actually pull some material as well. So basically I'm gonna put a little bit of tension in here, just working this around the area. And make sure I understand where it's at. It's really just, oh, you know what I need to really do before I get any further? This flange right here is really not clean. Never underestimate how much a flange, how much strength is in a sheet metal flange. I design with sheet metal on a regular basis every day, and we make some serious structure with just sheet metal. And the key portion of that is flanges. So something else to understand about this right now. As I do this, now there's more tension in this, just from what I've done. You see, you can hear it. It's a lot more tension. The other thing to know about that is the flange, when I push down on this, the flange is popping out. What's good about that is when I bolt it into the rest of the car, basically the flange is going to be pushed back into place, which is then going to pop this up. So I don't think I'm actually going to work this much more because it feels really good. It feels really nice through here. The panel's nice and flat. When it sits up like it's supposed to, this feels really, really good now. I do have a little bit of work to do right here where this rust spot is. It was cracked. You might notice, you might be able to notice on camera, this panel is a lot more rigid than the other one. And the reason for it is, as I was just stating just a minute ago, this flange, I actually, I don't know, a year ago, already did some work and corrected this flange. There was rust in it and some cracks and so on and so forth, and I fixed all of that. And so this flange is super solid now, which is why this panel is so much more rigid than the other one. It's just got more of it is intact. So I don't know that I'm gonna work this panel much more. It's looking really good. What isn't finished can easily be finished at a later portion of this. I want to move on to modifying panels. So actually, no, back that up. I want to go from working on this to working on the subframe. So I'm thinking actually that this panel is really good now. There's still a bunch of rust repair and all that kind of stuff. I gotta plug holes, all kinds of stuff. I'm not worried about that right now. What I want to do is get the subframe shortened, get these the lower quarter panels hung back on this thing loosely, probably with just some bolts or whatever. Hopefully I don't have to tack anything because I know I'm going to have to take this on and off. I want to do a bunch of cleanup. I'm actually going to get into a little bit of that discussion. Been doing a lot of research on rust neutralizing and then top coats. So I'll go into that at another point, but probably make a whole video on that. Anyway, that's where we're at right now. I'm going to stop working on panels. I'm going to start cleaning up on this frame. I may very well put this frame up on some jack stands so that I can work on it nicely and comfortably, and we'll go from there. We'll see what's up. Like that. All right, let me get you in here, show you what the plan is. So these pieces of sheet metal, I'm pretty sure, are just to hold the door cards, like the interior panels. So I can also tell you though, this bracket right here is tying some structure together and making things stiffer. So either way, what I'm gonna do right now, I'm gonna try not to cut this out. I'm gonna probably just remove this piece so that I can cut in this area. And I think what I'm gonna do is cut behind this bracket. So as it comes down at an angle, after I remove this, we'll be able to see, and I'll probably cut back here. So we'll figure that out here in just a second. Also, what I'm gonna probably do, if I can, I'm going to cut in a zigzag pattern. So I'll cut this straight, then I'll move over a little ways and cut it down here. And the reason I'll do that is it takes the weld joint from a single line to now a couple different places, and it doesn't make it so easy to crack in one stress line. The reason I care about that is I'm not bolting this subframe across the frame rails like most Model A's. What is going to happen is actually right around in here, there will be a body mount. You can kind of see them over there. That, with an isolator sitting on top of it, will actually sit inside this channel from the bottom. So there'll be a hole right here with a body mount underneath it. So that's going to be the same moving back here, but not so low. It'll be up more around this level where the frame's actually at inside the car. So anyway, that's why I want all this to be nice and strong. I don't really want anything to crack, just in general. But all right, let me see. Let me start dissecting this thing, get these out of here so I can get to a clean point to cut this. I may in fact cut it straight. We'll see what happens. All right, guys, I gotta be honest. I'm not happy with the method that I went about that. However, you see how quick it went. Stupid fast. Didn't spend 5 minutes getting those off. The reason I use the air chisel to just cut those off instead of trying to drill out the spot welds is because I simply couldn't find them. That's what I was looking at so intently on the other side. I just could not find these spot welds to drill them out. The material is just too rusty, and I wasn't able to identify where they were, so I would have just been drilling holes and turned it into Swiss cheese. So instead, I just decided to go ahead and air chisel it off there. I'll clean these brackets up, straighten out the original brackets, probably better than they were to begin with when I just pulled them off, and we'll put them back. But anyway, what this has accomplished now is I know where I'm gonna cut. I'll probably take a measurement from the B-pillar back, not just use the end of this thing, but it's probably fine. To be honest with you, it doesn't matter at all. I could cut 4 inches back from this bracket on this side and only 1/4 of an inch back on the other side. As long as I remove 3 inches, it's going to go back altogether the correct way. So there's a couple things, just like all the other stuff I'm chopping right now. You want to make sure that wherever you're sectioning things, that when you take a chunk out of here, that when this comes back to its new position, that these things are as close in size as possible. Now you see most of this looks like it's identical. I'm going to take some measurements beforehand, but actually as you get over here, this tapers in just a little bit. So kind of reinforcing even more, I don't want to do anything with this bracket. I'm going to leave this bracket alone. I'm going to treat all the rust that's around it and in it. I'll show you guys that next video. And yeah, I think we have our location. So I'm going to clean up what's going on the outside. Then I'm probably going to mark and cut this Whoo, that's gonna be a moment. There's no going back anyway. I've already cut the quarters, so we're gonna make it happen. Like that. All right, let's get you in here and show you what we got going on. Everything's cleaned up. Everything is understood as to where it's going to go and where it's going to happen. You can see that this tapers in as it gets closer to the B-pillar. I'm not terribly worried about that. If I have to, in order to make it match the quarter panel, which I think it's going to be okay, I can slice right along this edge where my thumbnail is, and I can lay this whole thing in. So I can match this distance from here to here if I have to fairly easily, and I'll just weld this all right back up along that edge if that's the case. That's really chunky steel. It's been rusted, pitted, it's pretty bad, but it's still very solid. As you can see, of course, it's the same on this side. It tapers in as it gets towards the B-pillar. So I'm not terribly worried about that right now. I'm gonna go ahead and basically make some marks where I'm gonna cut everything, and we're gonna get after it. I need to put some 4x4s under the back side of this. I've put 4x4s on either side. Up front, I probably need to do something up the very front because the cowl is heavy, of course, especially with the dash in it. So anyway, that's where we're at. We're about to make some marks and cut. Okay, so here's where we're at. I've got it marked out. I did decide to stagger it, as you can see from my marks. I came back a little ways from this just to stay out of that so I don't have to deal with it when I'm trying to grind and weld and whatnot. But basically this is a 3-inch scribe on either side. I offset it 1 inch. I'll do the same here. So this is the section that's coming out. I'll cut right along this line in here in this groove and get that chunk out. And then ultimately this flange is going anyway. The frame sits right here, right in against this. There's probably about a 1/16 of an inch, maybe a little bit more between the frame and that. So that's going anyway. And then what I'll do is from here, from this side, I'll just cut straight down. And again, I may have to slice this out here and move it in order to get the stall fit. But I've done the same to the other side. You can see my marks. All right, so here's what we've got. I have blocked up with 4x4s all the way around, so that when I cut right behind the B-pillar, I need to put some more over here. When I cut behind the B-pillar, then the body basically isn't going to go anywhere. So yeah, I need to cut 2 more. Put them under here, just forward of the B-pillars. That's what we're up to, and then after this, I'm gonna go ahead and start cutting. Woo, a little nervous. What I plan to do here is cut the horizontal line first. What I mean by that is the one that's running along the seam where it steps. I'm gonna cut that first, and then I'm going to cut out, I'll probably then cut this outside to make sure I got those cut straight, and then from there it's just straight cuts across the top of the surface. So that's probably the plan here. Okay, well, you see 3 inches here, 3 inches there. The only thing holding the back to the front right now is this on each side, which I'm going to take a quick look at that on the upper quarter panels real fast and see what, if anything, attaches to that, and does it matter where I cut it exactly. If not, I'll probably shorten it up here. Maybe I'll shorten it in the middle. That's where I'm going to shorten the upper portion of the quarter panel anyway. So, yeah, I guess we'll see what's next. And really, it's going to be probably just trim that, bring it all together, put some straight edges across the top of this stuff to make sure that it all stays in plane and true and square, which that shouldn't be a problem since I cut exactly 3 inches out of each side. It should all true up the same. But hey, we're there. We are actually going to be able to place the quarter panels back in place here in just a few. So what I'm actually going to do is hang the upper quarter panel on the frame, the subframe, so that I can see if anything attaches to that up top. I don't recall there being anything that attaches up there. Take a look. No, there's nothing. If there were anything at all, there would have probably been some wood that were attached to this sandwich between the window, which has, it has nail holes in the top portion of the frame here. So chances are pretty good it was a piece of wood that was up inside this piece here. That once you put the quarter panel on, you would then nail up through the top of the window channel here and into it. Because I also see there's some here and some on this side that would have also gone into the wood. You can see the matching holes here. So, yep, I think that's the case. That's good. That means I can basically chop this thing anywhere. Probably going to chop it right out of the middle. And, hey, we can slide the whole thing forward, true it all up with some straight edges, tack it back together, hang some quarter panels on it that have been shortened at this point. We'll be able to see some good stuff. Well, so here it goes. Yes. So much good. Look at that. A couple of straight edges. Pull everything around where it needs to be. Voila. We just shortened her 3 inches. Can't even tell anything right now. It's going to be good. This is very good. Well, now it's a point of a bunch of fitment. I got to clamp all these things up, put a straight edge across this. I've got a couple of pieces of different material I can run across. I'll probably take this and move it slightly. But anyway, yeah, I think we're at a point where I need to just start tacking things together, making sure it's all straight and tack things together. Pull a couple of cross measurements just to make sure I didn't do anything stupid. And yeah, we're in there. Okay, well, I have verified that this thing is sitting like it needs to sit, and if it is out just a slight ways, it's not enough to hurt anything. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and let her rip and see what's up. Well, it's been shortened. Now, the subframe has been shortened. I didn't weld the very bottom flange that turns towards the inside of the frame. That's going to get cut out anyway. But everything else is welded all the way down. I am going to show you something that's really cool, which just worked out really well. I'm sure if I had thought about it for a moment, I would realize it's going to happen. But anyway, it's shortened. This is super cool. I'll be able to actually hang the 2/4 panels I've already fixed. They're shortened. I'll be able to hang them on here and see how this works. This is awesome. Very good day. Very productive. All right, so let me show you what worked out really well. You can see there's a gap right there. And that is, again, because of the 3 inches we shortened it. But as you see, it's just it's really about the sheet metal thickness, maybe a tiny bit more. I am able to just cut all along here and just tip it in and then weld the seam right back up, and it's all going to sit exactly like it should. I mean, really, now that I'm thinking about it, maybe that's not the best way to go. You could actually open this one up and it would actually then match the 1/4 panel like it was the actual sheet metal. None of it is really going to matter. It's so minute, but I figured I'd show you that even with that little bit of offset, I'll be able to correct this no problem. This is actually a really prime example of why you want to go through so much effort to make sure that where you cut and remove pieces, whether it's chopping the top or shortening the body or sectioning it out of the middle, you need to make sure that your thicknesses overall line back up the best they can. This is why you see when you see a little bit more complicated chops like a 33, 34 Ford or any of the 50s cars where you see so many zigzag tape marks and whatnot. That's the reason that this is done, is just the thinking and calculating where the best places to cut are so that you end up with the least misalignment when you put it all back together. So here we are. I'm gonna get after some cleanup, some grinding, and then I'm gonna set up and try to hang a 1/4 panel on this thing. Hang some 1/4 panels on it, and generally they fit really well. Let me show you what's going on. So this is the flange, and it mates up really well. It's the same on the other side. Dude, you can't ask for anything better than that. Like, the back lined up like it was supposed to. Like you can see, it's nice and clean through here. Like, I couldn't ask for anything more. This went really well. So the next episode that I put together will be the top portion of the 1/4 panels getting cut down to fit this. So yeah, I mean, I can't ask for anything more. This went really well, and got some cool news coming up. Big game changer, kind of like the wall scenario, fell into my lap. I will be installing a lift, a 2-post lift. Got a lot of work to do to basically make it so I can pick a car up entirely in here, like 6 foot plus, so I can actually walk underneath it. It's gonna take a little bit of work, but it'll be nice. It'll be very nice. So that fortunately doesn't impede me too much on what I'm trying to get done right now on this. Basically, I can put all of my pieces in place and then cut the hole in the floor after I get everything done right. So it shouldn't really slow down progress on this. So anyway, I'm going to wrap it up at that point. do me a favor, like and subscribe. The reason I've kind of jumped on the bandwagon with that is if you interact with these videos, that's what gets them promoted by YouTube to actually be seen by more, and then the videos actually start to be seen on a normal basis. That's the only reason I'm mentioning it. So if you would, like and subscribe, at least like the video, because then it, again, promotes it and maybe it'll be seen by others. I don't make any money off this channel. I'm just doing this just for fun, and also some feedback from you guys. So all of those things. Go ahead, throw me a comment if you see anything that you were like, hey dude, that what did you do there? Or you want to know more about it. I'm happy to reply. You'll see I don't get many comments, so I reply to all of them. So yeah, let me know. Like, subscribe, all that stuff. Hit notifications, I guess. I don't know. You know the deal. I'm gonna wrap it up. Take it easy, guys. Thanks a lot.